Hey, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and I absolutely know that Overwatch can be intimidating, especially as somebody who's just getting into the game, and many of you guys aren't even comfortable with FPSs on PCs, and you jump in because Overwatch looks crazy, and it is, but it is designed as an esport, and we're loving the competition. And in fact, I'm going to be flying over to LA soon, and I'm going to be hanging out there streaming and checking out the first day of their esport league. But a lot of you guys are trying to transition and trying to get into it, and it's uncomfortable sometimes. You don't know where to start, you don't know where to begin, and hopefully this is a list that'll help you out. This is going to be my top 10 Overwatch heroes to play if you can't aim. Again, this is going to be for beginners, people who are just really starting with mouse and keyboard, or really just starting to learn to transition into the game and take it more seriously. But just know, I'm not calling these heroes easy. Every hero has their own unique skill set. It's just when it comes to aiming, these are on the lesser end of intensity. I hope that's okay with you guys, and this is my personal list. If you have any thoughts and feelings on it, let me know in the comments below. But let's dig in. So the first hero I want to talk about is the anchor tank Orisa, who's pretty much just a mobile tank. You just throw down your shield, you can actually shield up, and you're unCCable. That's fantastic. And you can even use your halt in order to CC enemies, and you basically will get free shots, most likely even free headshots. Now, her gun isn't the most accurate. It is a machine gun, though, so you're just shelling out stuff and things. It's just you're applying a lot of pressure. And of course, the best Orisas, like if you look at XQC when he's streaming, and you see him tracking headshots and doing all sorts of crazy predictions, it's fantastic. You know, and you do need to move your mouse around pretty quickly sometimes because you are a tank, people are moving past you. Not always the quickest because you do have a kit that, you know, kind of stalls them. But in the end, Arisa does take some mechanics, but I think I really wanted to put her on the list because she teaches those mechanics so well. And at the same time, you're not exactly expected to be dinging headshots nonstop like a Widowmaker. Absolutely not. So as a teaching tool, absolutely, she has to be on this list. She doesn't require too much to get started, but at the same time, at the highest level, she does have some mechanics that should be mastered, and that's why she's number 10. Next up on the list, I have a DPS character, Reaper. So I don't mean to make fun of anybody with these lists. I hope nobody takes offense to this, but in my opinion, from my experience, Reaper is a very simple character overall who can do some really neat things in terms of positioning, but really that's kind of his core gameplay, is you focus on positioning, and then once you get in position, then more or less things just kind of follow through. And now you do need to flick a little bit when it comes to shotgunning. You need to flick, shotgun, and try to aim for headshots, flick, shotgun. But overall, you get a lot of shots. You have a lot of safety. You know, Wraith form, you have teleport, of course, positioning is really key with him, and then you have lifesteal. And now with Wraith form, you actually reload your shotgun, so you're just dishing out the damage. And of course, your main focus here is that you're going to be hitting big targets. Of course, you want to also flank and get them squishies like Zenyatta, but if you want to really pick Reaper into like Winston or, you know, the big tanks, the big meaty people, and you can just gun them down easy peasy. So because of how you play Reaper, when you play Reaper, and what you do as Reaper overall, it's a shotgun, right? It's not the most accurate weapon, doesn't require the most accuracy. Yeah, but he's lower on the list because he's still a DPS character. I think if you want to play DPS, you want to get into the game, Reaper is a good pick. However, he's still a niche pick. You don't pick him every game, so just keep that in mind. So coming in at number 8, we have another shotgun hero, and that's going to be Doomfist. So Doomfist is a little bit higher than Reaper because he actually has a way more flicking. He's got way more mobility. He's all over the place. However, he's still lower on this list. I mean, he's a DPS character, but he makes it on the list because a lot of his abilities set up his shots. Now, you do have a shotgun on your fist, which doesn't even have reloads proper. It's a timed sort of thing. It's still an ammo resource, but whatever. And every ability you have basically sets up at least one shot. Even if they have like abilities like Tracer McCree can stun you, you're basically getting one shot. And you don't even have to get headshots. So, you know, you can slam down on the ground, it pulls them to you. You can uppercut. You're getting 4 shots on basically anybody, unless, you know, somebody else shields them like a Zarya or whatever. And you have a lot of mobility. You're moving all around the place. You can one-shot people. You just a tremendous amount of CC. It all sets up into other abilities, other shots, and overall, he's not like a long-range character. You don't need tracking. You really only just need flicking, which is why he's lower on the list, but he still makes the list because all of his abilities, as fun as they are and as crazy as they are, and they can be incredibly mechanical in terms of accuracy and, you know, you need like precision, not so much. Yeah, just make sure you position well, just like Reaper, and there you go. You can Doomfist. But of course, positioning with Doomfist is kind of crazy because his abilities are just, you know, Super Saiyan. Next up on the list, we have Mei. Now, this is going to probably be up for contention, like why she's a little bit higher on the list than some DPS characters, but I'm going to explain it here, guys. Mei is a very niche character. You're going to pick her in very specific situations. Now, she makes the list despite her right-click having a tremendous amount of skill involved because you're picking her at, those hard choke points. You're going to be walling off people, you're going to be freezing them, and it's going to be more or less pretty easy to pick them off like fish in a barrel, essentially. Now, Mei also, like, her left click is an ice thrower. She can freeze people. So you're going to see a lot of players, I guess pretty average players, going to be freezing enemies and then right-clicking their head. I think more advanced players are going to be more using the right-click as sort of a sniping tool, almost like an Ice Hanzo, and that's pretty cool, and that's why she's a little bit lower on the list than higher. However, really good Meis, I think, would, you can sometimes use your ice thrower to just slow them, and then you can right-click, and then slow them again and right-click, and you can really duel like that. But most of her kit overall is more of a tank sort of situation, and it really, again, it's situational when you're going to play her and how you play her. So even though the right click is tremendously hard to master, and oh my god, you're a great Mei, or if you do master it, you're not expected to. You aren't picking Mei to snipe fairies out of the air, so just keep that in mind. Alright dudes, moving through, we have Junkrat. So I'm not saying Junkrat doesn't take skill. Junkrat actually takes a tremendous amount of skill, kind of well-rounded, I would debate. But when it comes to consistent aiming, Junkrat is the opposite of that. And he's not lower on the list though, because in the end, what you can do with him is insane, and his mechanics do involve a lot of flicking, and at the same time you can aim pretty well with Junkrat, but he still makes it on the list because it's Junkrat. You aren't a precision character, you are the opposite of that. You literally are still a DPS character, but you're just aiming, and that's your role, okay? You're just aiming in the general direction of busting shields, which is not hard to hit, very hard to miss, hitting those big targets and just throwing a lot of damage in a couple of different areas, very specific holes, walls, doors, choke points. That's what you're doing. That's your main role. Of course, you can still do some fantastic things, and really good Junkrats can actually contest with Pharah a little bit, but that's with their mines, not their main weapon. Overall, you're going to utilize this whole kit, and you're going to be doing a lot of stuff with the mouse and keyboard, but when it comes to precision aiming, no, Junkrat is not that character, and at the same time, a lot of people love him and hate him for that. Okay, about time we talk about Moira. Now from here, the list should be completely uncontested. Every one of these characters basically have some sort of like auto aim or just incredibly easy way to hit enemies, but they all play very differently. Again, not easy, they're more tactical or they're more strategic, and Moira is one of those heroes, since you gotta switch between healing and damage, but Moira is more on the damage side, and her ultimate is actually hit scan. It's a beam, and you want to line up and track people like a Genji ulting, or maybe even a Mercy up in the air. You can maybe contest with that a little bit, though Mercy's invincible, we all know that. But Moira, basically, she's kind of like Symetra. She's got a tracking beam for her damage, her healing. You do kind of aim it a little bit versus Mercy, but it's more like an ice thrower or a flamethrower, and you just kind of, it's an AoE cone. You just throw that out there. She's got a little bit of aim mechanics, and actually, you can see good Moiras do some damage in deathmatch, but overall, she's kind of like Junkrat, at least with her orbs. You throw out the orbs, and they kind of just sporadically, randomly, just kind of heal damage, all that good stuff. Just kind of lay down that AoE denial or healing, and you just look in general directions. Also, you have to know her right click, even though it's tracking, is also incredibly long range. So all in all, it's not really hard to look in the general direction of an enemy and do some damage or do a lot of healing, or basically just have a lot of worth. And next up, we have Reinhardt. Now, Reinhardt's not at the very top, despite being a melee character, because you do aim your Fire Strike, and the Reinhardt that gets Fire Strikes on multiple people more consistently is going to get ultimate more, and that's what Overwatch is all about, that ult economy, baby. Well, yeah, Reinhardt's going to be winning much more often. You also do have to aim your shield a little bit, still a big shield, but it is a little bit of aiming going on there, and you kind of aim your melee, don't you? You kind of time it and aim it, because you are swinging your hammer. It's not like a flamethrower or anything that's consistently doing damage. So there's a little bit of aim going on, and debatably with the charge, you do have to actually be in the proper position. You kind of gotta preempt it, but that's more of a positioning thing. In the end, though, yeah, it's super easy to play. Like, I can't debate it. You hold up the shield. Wow, and the hammer is basically 360 damage if you actually spin around, and the Fire Strike is a pretty big freaking fireball. Of course, still takes some aim, him, so he's only number 4, but in the end, he's a big freaking knight that is not expected to be fire striking, Widowmakers out in the distance. He's really in your face, and that's how you're going to be playing him. But I will say, aiming all these abilities in tandem together, flicking your mouse sometimes can get confusing. It can get really hectic, especially since your hammer actually moves people and CCs them out of the way sometimes, and you can kind of bump people out or slam them with your charge. Things can get pretty hectic. A lot of characters can move really fast, and you might be expected to move your camera really quickly, especially with the Earth Shatter. So keep that in mind, and that's why he's right here at number 4. Now into the big 3, we have Symetra. So, Symetra, I think we can all admit, pretty easy to aim. It just locks right on to the enemy with your left click, and it gets stronger and stronger as it's locked on. It even locks on to shields, and basically, they just gotta be on your screen. Just be on your screen, and boom, you're zippity-zapping them. Does a lot of damage, does some good stuff. You can flank pretty well with this, or counterflank. And Symetra is overall focused on just turret gameplay. She's a support, and she has these turrets that actually slow enemies, and she focuses on either getting a shield generator, being more defensive, or you have your teleporter, and you can be a little bit aggressive with, I guess, some of these things. Symetra can be played in a couple different ways, but that's like her skill, is she's tactical, she's strategic, but mechanical, debatable. Now, she's not number 1. Like, I did this list actually like a couple years ago, but she's not number 1 anymore because they did give her a projectile aimed shield. Now, this is a really cool ability, and really good Symetras can aim this and time this just perfectly. Not only that, but super good Symetras, you have a right click, and it's kind of like this really slow Mega Man ball. This is really for sieging or anti-siege, but really good Symetras might be able to kind of utilize it like a shotgun, where you get right on somebody and then you pop it off in their face, and it could do a big chunk of damage, and then you kind of left click them to finish them off, and then from there you can actually build up your damage and just kind of go on a killing spree. So Symetra can be aggressive, but overall, to play her effectively and to play her well, you don't need to do that. And yeah, she's focused way more on strategy versus mechanics, considering most of the characters in the game. Okay, so number 2 is Mercy, and I really debated putting her number 1 or number 2 because her main role is support, and like, you don't actually need people on the screen to be healing them or damage boosting them or even rezzing them. You can start the res and kind of start moving behind a wall, and she's so safe, especially with the Valkyrie, and you can just kind of look in the general direction of a teammate or even a teammate's dead body, and you can just fly to them. So a character that is really focused on positioning, has amazing positional tools. Well, she's not the most difficult hero. In fact, overall, she's probably the easiest character to actually play. It's depending on your play style, actually. But if you're more aggressive, you don't have too many tools, but you do have your pistol. And defensively, hitting tracers in the head, yes, you're going to win more games if you can use that pistol well, but nobody expects that from you, which is like many of the heroes on this list, that's going to be the case. Mercy mostly is a heal bot. You just left click on a teammate and then you fly around. You don't even need them on the screen to even use your shift then if you're linked. So yeah, aiming is not Mercy's thing, but she's number 2 because with Valkyrie, she can be aggressive, and those who do use the pistol are going to carry more games than otherwise, because you are going to be able to defend yourself. And in a dive meta, it just kind of works. So for now, at least in the state Mercy's in and the game's in, Mercy's number 2. And finally, we made it to our number 1. Again, I switched these off and on as I was making this list, but I'm going to have Winston at number 1. So Winston's number 1, debating with Mercy, because Mercy, whenever she needs to pull out her pistol and really aim, that's going to be against Tracers and Genjis. Well, Winston is the character to play whenever you want to fight those heroes. So yeah, he's got a lightning gun, and it actually arcs to multiple enemies. And that's basically all you do is damage. You have an amazing positional ability, which leaps you super far in the air, vertically and horizontally. You have an AoE shield, so unlike Reinhardt, you don't aim it, you just plop that down. And then his ultimate actually forgoes the gun entirely, and you just kind of just swing your arms around. They don't even need to be on the screen, you just go berserk. So Winston, in my opinion, is one of the easier characters to play, but in terms of aiming, he is the easiest. Now, you still are fighting some faster characters, but the way your kit plays, it's like, it's not hard. A Genji can be double jumping all over the place. A Tracer can be blinking all over the place. You just gotta kind of, mosey around your mouse and just make sure they might be a little bit on the screen. That's really it. And of course, you have the tools to, your tanky character, to just really sit there and jump on them and just get the work done. So in terms of learning to aim, I would probably suggest Winston, and I would probably suggest Winston if you do want to actually transition into a more aimed role. But in terms of just playing the game more strategic and tactical positions, then Mercy and Symetra are going to be the way to go. But in the end, Winston, even though he does have some fundamentals of aiming, because you are going to be fighting fast characters, moving around very quickly, it's just really, really easy. But ladies and gentlemen, that is just my opinion. I would absolutely love to know yours because this is a community effort. We're sitting here trying to get players into the competitive scene. I know myself, I'm going to really get into it. I'm going hard on that leaderboards and the ladder, and I want to climb, and hopefully you do too. So on my journey, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and to kind of help you out there. So if you're looking forward to those videos, give me a like, let me know. And if you're new here, subscribe. Absolutely. But of course, let me know what heroes you think are easy when it comes to aiming and which ones maybe are the hardest. What characters do you think are the hardest? Because I got that top 10 coming up as well. Any thoughts and feelings whatsoever on Overwatch, slap it down in the comments below. And either way, I hope you guys are having fun. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you in the next one.